The views and opinions expressed on the Craig L. Hayes Show do not necessarily reflect those of Westgate Resorts ownership or management. And now, on with the show.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.
All right, everybody, we are back. We are here at the Westgate Resort in the International Showroom in Elvis Presley's former dressing room. And we're here still with Mark Swift, and we're talking about his time in show business. And this episode, I think, Mark, would like to get into a little bit of your time at the Grand Ole Opry. You know, I used to watch that a little bit on TV on PBS. And tell us a little bit about that. You mentioned it a minute ago, but let's go back into that and just tell us about the experiences there, because you got to work with everybody there.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a job I didn't ever think I would ever had, like I said before, and it was interesting. I had my boss, whose name was Conrad, and Conrad Jones, as a matter of fact, a very legendary audio man from Alabama. Anyway, he was our boss, and when I first started, the coolest thing he did, and I do that with some of the guys now, more or less, was he said, just walk around. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, I'll let you know. And he said, just hang out. Just get the vibe, feel, watch every aspect, see what they're doing, see how it acts, see how it interacts, see how things move, see how this, because it's move. You get 32 bands on a Friday and 64 on a Saturday. And you only have, granted, they're only going to play one song to two songs, and maybe three if they're the feature, in any half-hour segment, which is structured because it is a radio show, so it's on it's on the radio the whole time. So to get the feel and the vibe and the movement and how things interact and how the commercials come and go and how the acts change and what they do and how they, like one time you'd be using the instrument mic that was underneath one of the vocal mics in the front line, and the next act comes out and the stagehand walks out with a DI in his hand, unplugs the instrument mic, holds up the DI so you can see it, plugs it in, sets it on the floor, and the guitar player plugs into that. So it's like you have to be pretty adept at adapting quickly. And we didn't really get much of a sound check. We got a line check at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then started Friday shows were 7, Saturday shows started at like 6:30. And then we did on Friday nights, we recorded the last half hour of the Friday night show as if it was Saturday, and then inserted that into the audience change on Saturday for the radio. Okay. So on the radio, it never stopped, but we change an audience at that point and then resume back again at 9:30, and goes right. And so it was quite an intricate balance of how things happen. Like I said, I never thought I'd be working there, and it was great because you get pretty adept at gain structure and doing things fast. And one of the things I benefited from with Millsap was when I watched how he listened, I taught myself how to do things without looking at the console, and at a familiarity where things are and that kind of stuff. So on the Opry, that came in really handy because you don't have much time, and some of the gain structure is pretty close, but when you change an instrument mic to a DI, there's sometimes a good gain change in there.
Oh yeah.
So you just got to keep on your toes to keep that, look and watch what they're changing as it's changing, because there's no time for them to call you, and then off you go. And then the fun part of it was to know that you had somebody like Alan Jackson, say, coming up during this next half hour, and has a feature. He'll do at least 3 songs. So the fun part was to make them sound exactly like Alan Jackson's supposed to sound quickly. So that's like, I'm sure you saw me do that here. Mm-hmm. Where, how'd you do that fast? And it's like, well, it came natural after a while.
Yeah.
And now it's still, and I'm trying to teach guys, if your gain structure is right, the rest will follow. And so it was fun for that. Interesting things sometimes happen, like here's a disastrous thing could have been on any show. we had an amp rack that had powered the front wedges. There was 4 wedges and a loom in the front line. One night, the amp rack got pushed a little too close to the Austrian curtain behind the monitor guy, because the curtain went the entire width of the whole stage, not just where the stage was, off to the sides too. And picked the amp rack up at the beginning of the segment of 7 o'clock Porter Wagner segment. So here goes the amp rack straight up 35 feet. Well, what do the wedges on the front line do? They turn sideways like little soldiers following their loom off the side of the stage. So the funniest thing was Mixon House watching Porter Wagner's bass player still playing, watching his mix drag off go to the stage left, and he's like watching it go away. And you can't stop because we were on the radio and we were 10 minutes from live television. So the guys scrambled, went and got another amp rack, pushed the wedges back in place, and put the loom into the other amp rack because it didn't hurt the loom at all. The amp rack came loose. It was a Clare rack with it scissored into itself to close for transport. So it opened around the weight. And so it broke. Once it stopped, it came down. And so things like that, what do? You can't plan for that. You just keep going. And
So on live TV and radio, you hear a kaboom.
oh yeah.
And you just keep going. It's like, well, you look over, nobody got hurt, no squash. Okay,
No,
keep
they
going.
just kept talking. Porter just kept going.
Yep.
So, but it was interesting to. I was there when Porter Wagner was still there. Roy Acuff was still around, and so a lot of the old stars were still there so I got to experience that. And the fact that they built Roy Acuff a house right outside the door. He had a 3-bedroom house right out the stage right door in the park. And that's why they even Opryland they played 24-hour country music. So if Roy wanted to go out and walk around in the middle of the night, he could hear country music. So the funniest thing was when he came shuffling through. We were doing, I think, Frankie Beverly and Mays and Frankie Beverly, however they titled themselves at the time. And they had catering set up in the hallway. Came from where his house was, and they didn't know who he was. They just saw some old man come shuffling through the door. Well, he went and saw the catering, so he grabbed a plate and flayed through. And they were like, the tour managers were getting all mad. They were like, "Who's this old dude? Why is he going through our catering?" And we're like to take him aside and just leave him alone. It's kind of his place. And then that was kind of teach him some tradition and stuff, and because he could roam around whenever he wanted to. So that was kind of unique.
So you guys would do just not the country acts there. You do other shows of other genres and stuff too, right?
Absolutely. If they wanted to rent if it's same as any venue. Like the day we did, I think it was Morrissey was in there, and the usher ladies were freaking out. They were like, "Is this some kind of cult?" They were like, "What's wrong with these people?" And it was funny because they'd never experienced anything like that before.
Huh.
Yeah, they did those, and they did all kinds of different things.
Yeah, to me that seems kind of funny that you would do Grand Ole Opry, you'd have Frankie Beverly and Mays, Morrissey, and other things. That's just it just doesn't fit the name of the place.
What was the other one? What was the other one we did that was Smashing Pumpkins? And it was so loud, and they kept asking me more. They told us they were gonna. The managers of the building were coming over. They said they were gonna play acoustic. I said, yeah. They said they were gonna play acoustic guitars. They didn't tell you they weren't gonna plug them in. So it was the loudest thing I've ever heard in the Grand Ole Opry. It was
acoustic guitars at 110 dB.
Yeah, it was like stun, and they're big guy, the little usher ladies, great big eyes. It was the fun. My daughter growing up, it was like having 17 grandmothers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She used to go with me a lot. So that was what was cool. This summer, I showed you a picture a minute ago, was round robin. I was back at the Ryman Auditorium, which I was part of the remodel in 1994. I didn't realize it was 1994. It had been that long ago.
Yeah, only 30 years.
But I got to have my grandson with me that day, and like his mother used, and his mom said, I wanted to make sure he had some backstage time too. So he got some backstage time with me, and he was a natural. It was fun.
Fit right in with all the shenanigans that go on stage.
Oh yeah, he did.
And how many years did you do at the Grand Ole Opry?
Like 8.
8 years.
92 to 99 when I came here to the exciting Hilton.
Yeah.
And
So the first time I met you was when you came in with Primetime Country,
right.
which was a TV show that we'd do during the daytime. And at nighttime we would do, headliners because it was during rodeo week, National Finals Rodeo.
Correct.
And yeah, it's one of those things that I've sat there and I watched you when you were working out there, and you're doing the TV show and you're having to deal with all this stuff. And I have to say you impressed me by watching you how you worked and what you got done. And I think somewhere during that week time, I went up to you, and I don't remember what I said, but you remember what I told you, and so you can say what I told you better than I could. So.
Well, the comment was basically, you make our showroom sound pretty darn good. Do you want to stay? And it's like, And I kept thinking to myself, let's see. Closer to my parents, further from my ex-wife, and more money. Yeah, I can probably do that.
Yeah, let me see, that's 3 out of 3 positives. Yeah.
So it was, and my ex and I get along. It's like, I don't, it's not something I go out of the way to talk to, but when we do, when we've been at my daughter's house, we're not,
Yeah.
it's not a bad thing.
Well, that's the same with me and mine. She lives over in the Netherlands, so she's 6,000, 7,000 miles away, so we get along great.
Yeah, it's a long way.
So now and then you came into town, you started working with us here. And you've been here a couple times. You were here for a while, then you went out and did some stuff with some other things, and you came back for a while. And
Yeah, I ended up getting an offer from, what was it? I left because there was a record Big Three Records was in Florida, and was part of a Paul Anka thing at the time. And my friend Boots and I, he needed somebody else to go, and I thought, well, I threw out a money figure I didn't think they'd take it. And the billionaire guy went, okay. And I thought, well, I guess I'm going to Florida. And so I left for that. And then we did these couple of touring little pop groups and things for a bit. And made a lot of money, lived on Treasure Island right on the Coastal Waterway. And that was pretty nice, but I wasn't ready for retirement yet.
yeah, was this Bill Edwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so working for Bill Edwards was fun. And we had a rehearsal studio, and we did a lot of rehearsal stuff and flew to L.A. a lot and that kind of stuff. But
And Bill Edwards, so people understand, is not an entertainment like manager, producer, all these things. He's a real estate guy.
as a mortgage broker,
Yeah, he's like big money guy, billionaire, doing all these things, but he loves doing entertainment things. He just loves being like the producer and the
Yep.
money behind a show. And good example was when we did Cheap Trick live here with the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band when they did it here. It was Bill Edwards.
Yep.
He just loves doing those things, man.
Yeah, he was fun to work for. It was he was the happiest billionaire dude I've ever met, and he would come sit behind me in that rehearsal studio and just sit there and relax. And I guess it gave him, de-stressed him from his normal mortgage brokering stuff. And he had built a studio, and he had a recording studio. I think he has Cheap Trick still on the Big Three label too. And that was on not Gulf Boulevard, but our rehearsal studio was on Gulf Boulevard, which was an old seafood restaurant that was closed, and it was kind of different, but it was fun. And then he had a studio over off of Central Avenue that went from the beach back to the highway, underneath his mortgage company, which he built, was quite successful with, sold it. I guess whoever bought it from him ran it into the ground, so he bought it back and built it up again. And
Probably bought it back at a really, really good price. And
Yep, and then rebuilt it again, and he still does. And I think he owns a couple. I think he owns the soccer team in Tampa now, and stuff like. He's gotten involved in all of that. Too,
Okay.
so
My favorite story about Bill Edwards is we were doing, I think it was the Sergeant Pepper, Lonely Heart Club band, I think with Cheap Trick, and he would stay over at the Wynn because he liked Wynn. He liked gambling there, and they're high limit. I don't know what game he played. I don't know if he played baccarat or whatever. But he'd come over here and we'd have those little, quick production meetings. Sit out in the audience, and he'd sit there and just, say what he thought went good and what needed work on and stuff like that. And he'd sit down, and he got up one time and walked away. And I look over there, and I'm like, something was under his chair. So I reached down there and picked it up. It was three $25,000 chips from Wynn. That had fallen out
fell
of
out
his
of
pocket.
his pocket.
Yeah. And I had to go chase him down. Hey, Bill,
Drop these.
you dropped these, man. And I was like, that's 75 grand and three little chips right here, man.
Yeah.
And I had people go, oh, you should have just gone to Wins. I said, they
No.
track those things. They know
There's no way that-
exactly who has them. They know who's. You think they don't track a $25,000 chip?
We went one time. He was promoting one of both the pop groups he had. So he bought the showroom at the Hilton in Atlantic City. So we go there, and again he's gambling because he's part of his. That's he's a whale as far as that stuff goes.
Oh yeah, he plays big money.
And I guess I don't know if this is actually true or not, but the point was that he gambled. He did so well that he ended up just turning around and paying for the show we did there with what he won. So have no idea what that would have been, but it was just an amazing story.
Well, he wins, and that's the amazing thing. He's one of those gamblers that wins, and I guess over at Steve Wynn's place, he had won basically the same thing. He'd won basically the money that he had put into the show here. He'd won it back over at Steve Wynn's place.
Yep.
Because he lost a little bit of money on this show because it was a pretty expensive show. But, he's one of those guys, I don't care, I want to do a great show.
I had to laugh the other day talking about that show, and I don't remember I even did this. But Dan Robustelli was here with us on that show, and he's now head at the Coliseum. And he goes, you made my career one day. And I said, what did I do? And he said, the day that you slapped Jeff Emmerich's hand on the faders. And I said, I didn't even realize I did that. And he said, yeah, he goes, he pushed the fader all the way to the top for the choir. And I slapped his hand when I saw him do it. And I said, you can't do that in live sound. And he looked at me and goes, oh, mate, sorry, it's not the studio, is it? And I was like, no. And Dan said, he goes, I couldn't believe you actually did that. And I said, it was just natural. I don't think I realized I did it either. And he goes, but Jeff was really receptive to you. And I said, yeah, he was fun to work with. I did have to move him because he was yelling at the Cheap Trick guy so much that he was pretty much giving me a sort of a shower. So I shifted him on the other side of me, but it was fun. And he had notes from the original recordings and all kinds of stuff. So it was pretty neat.
Yeah. Let's see. So you went off and did that with them, then you came back.
Mm-hmm.
You did some stuff around town. Did you come right back here? Or did you just
No,
come
I
to
did
town and then eventually brought
bunch
you
of
back?
freelance stuff for a while.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because we went through a phase where we went through a phase there. We went through sound guys here. It seemed like every few months we went through another sound guy, front of house sound guy.
Oh yeah, and then so I can come right back, but then came back for a while, and then got an offer over at ended up over at Caesars for a while, and which is where I still am, and did Cleopatra's Barge. Actually, I got sent there to tidy up some things that had happened, and ended up doing David Perico and the Pop Strings quite a bit, which I still do, and which was quite fun. Which is violins, violas, and cellos, and horns, and rhythm section, and play pop music, and people dance, and it's fun. So
Is that still there? I heard they were going to close
Oh,
Cleopatra's
it's
Bar.
been rebuilt. It's almost ready to open into something new.
Oh, okay.
In fact,
So
they're
they-
about to take the walls off of it. You can see in kind of sort of, but they're supposed to have like entertainment in it and stuff. It's the Caspian something, and it's totally different. They gutted it and rebuilt it.
Okay.
So
Well, that's good. I was when I heard they were getting rid of that at one point. I'm like, why would you get that? Thing's been there since day one of that place. Why would you?
I just put a brand new Meyer sound system in it too,
Nice,
and was able to remove that before they destroyed everything. So
sweet.
I took part of it over to Harris, and some of it got put into the Flamingo and that kind of stuff. And so, like I said, ended up at Flamingo, and then I was in Tennessee when they closed Cleopatra's Bars that you were talking about. It closed, and told myself, well, I wonder what I do next. And 2 days later, I got a phone call from Donny Osmond, and they transferred me from Caesar's Palace across the street to Harrah's, and I've been with Mr. Osmond for probably 4 years now. So made him very happy, from what his wife tells me.
Good. Well, we'll wrap up this episode here, and we're going to come back and do another one and talk about a little bit of being here and again, and then heading out the door again, and now you're with Donnie. So we'll do that part of that when we come back, and in just a couple minutes. Until then, Talbot, take it away.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.
I gotta label each episode.
Donnie's wife came by me one day, and she said, he's never had it like this. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, he can come